Welcome to the Referrals Podcast, the show designed to help everyone from the solopreneur to the Fortune 500 company win the referral game. If you want to build a company with an army of ambassadors and raving fans who speak highly of you and refer you willingly, you are in the right place. And now, here is your host, Michael J. Maher.
Welcome, everyone, to another amazing episode of Referrals Podcast. And yes, I know this one will be amazing as well. We do have a repeat guest here today, but she is talking on a subject that we have only touched on in the past. And today we're going to dive deep into that one thing, because here's the question. How would you like to be the most recommended professional, whatever profession you're in your community or city? How would you like to be the most recommended of your profession in your community? Would you like that? Well, of course you would like that. You'd never have to run another ad. You'd never have to chase business ever again. You literally would be attracting business, and it gives a great way for your clients and friends and family and the people that know you, a way to kind of step into the referral process, and that's reviews and recommendations. Today, we're going to dive deep into that with one of our favorites. I would call her like the referral mastery system or Gen poster child, but that seems so. But when somebody just implements like a machine and so well and is just learning on steroids, you know what you do? You get them on the podcast a lot. How do you get on the podcast? You implement. And who we have here today is the ambassador of implementation. Whoa, in the generosity generation. I almost dropped the mic from that one saying, it's implementation. We know it's implementation. So make sure that you implement. We have the ambassador of implementation, Miss Toril Schoepfer White, out of Sumner, Washington, Lake Tapps, Washington area. Welcome once again to Referrals Podcast, Toril.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
And Toril means like warrior princess, right? Or something like that.
Yeah, female warrior.
Female warrior, right? I just imagine the whole like taking the bow and you got the bow and arrow, taking the arrow out of the quiver, and just like I got this image of you, like I don't know. It's just like I see it, the warrior princess, the female warrior. So now we have kids all over Gen being named Toril, right? It's just like
I hope so. That'd be fun.
Yeah. So, all right. Today, we're going to talk about how you became the most recommended realtor in your community, in your area. And I think the best way to just start it is to talk about why did you go on, I almost called it a rampage. Why did you go on this rampage of recommendations? And for those of you that maybe don't know me and Toril, it's just like that's kind of how we do things. We do things at 110%. So it really was a rampage of recommendations, right?
100%. Yeah.
Yeah. So why do it? Like, why in the very beginning did you decide to run that course?
You know what it was is I actually didn't really like pay attention that I needed reviews, because this was probably like 7 years ago. And that's before you really paid attention to reviews on Amazon. And now everything is like, what are other people saying about this product, this person, this company? And you know what I got a bad review.
Oh. And
I was like, and I hadn't even like looked, I was actually on Zillow, and I was like, what? I don't even know who this person is. Like to this day, I like want to like hug them and figure out who they are.
It wasn't even a client?
No, I don't.
Oh my gosh.
And so I was like mortified, because like I strive in being, honest and integrity and providing the best service. And that's just who we are as a real estate team and who I am as a person. So to get this like horrific 1-star terribleness, novel of terribleness, I just was like, well, I'm going to get 100 reviews. This is like in October. And I said, well, my birthday is coming December 23rd. I'm like, I am setting a goal to get 100 reviews in 2 months by my birthday so I can make this person look crazy.
Well, okay. So let's unpack this a little bit. So, I mean, I did not know this is how this started, but I remember my first 1-star on 7L, right? It was basically like insulting my little kid, right? So it's the same thing with yours. Is like, you're so customer service driven. You deliver the wow and over the top with honesty and integrity. So it hurts. But I have to tell you, there's some different ways to react to that. One can be revengeful or vengeful and striking back. And I would guess that you probably commented and say, hey, I can't find your name. Let us know who you are so we can write this. And then some people just like, if it dies, it dies. No, what you did is it might have died a little bit, but you freaking buried it. You're going to bury this one with 100 good ones. That's really kind of the whole methodology here. It's like, I'm gonna get so many of those that this person looks crazy. And there's a reminder there, by the way, is like, if anybody ever badmouths you, make sure that you've been good to enough people that when somebody does that, the other people in the room will shut it down. Mm-hmm. Right? I mean, there's something about just being good to a lot of people so that, when somebody does say maybe a bad word, I mean, what is it with word of mouth too, is we have two goals. One is we want to maximize the good word of mouth. We want to, we want to have talk abouts and we want to maximize, what people say good about us. But we also want to do the other, which is we want to minimize bad word of mouth. We want to minimize the amount of bad people who are saying bad things about us. And so I love your counter to this. I love it. It's like, we're just going to get 100 of these to counter it. And then your average also is going to go, if you only had 2 and you had a 5 and a 1, your average is now a 3 and you're like, this is horrible. But if you have
like 5, that was my 6th one. I didn't even know I had 5 because I wasn't paying attention.
Yeah. These are people that just did them on their own and had never, you had never kind of poked them or asked them to do it. And with 5 or 6, you get a 1 and it lowers you all the way down into the 3s when even if all the others were 5s. So, it's like, all right, if we get 100 5s or at least 4s, then we're going to be closer to 5, which is probably closer to the truth, right? So, all right. So there's one thing is saying we're going to bury this puppy and we're going to get 100, and then there's the execution of it. So what did you do to get 100 recommendations by your birthday?
Well, I was lucky because I was speaking with you in Atlantic City on a mastermind, and our friend Brandon Nelson was there, and he had just created a really easy system on how to go from 0 to 100 reviews in, I don't know if he put 60 days. I just had created that 60-day goal because I wanted that to be my birthday present.
I think you did it in a year. I think you did it in a year, but now we have the system. Yeah. Right. We can go from doing it in a year to doing it, in 60 to 90 days. I think more human approach might be 90 to 120 days, but Toril is superhuman. So 60 days. And so tell us what Brandon shared. And I love that you got this from a mastermind that we did with Jen, right? That's a beautiful thing. It's kudos to Brandon too.
Oh, kudos to Brandon. Kudos to your masterminds, because so often we just get these little nuggets of like, oh, I can do that. I can tweak it to be my own and I can run with it, right? Like that's my favorite thing to do in this business is to just master something and just even make it better. And so basically, like, we had gotten reviews from my company. Like, I've been doing this, 26 years, and I used to get written reviews. So what I did is I had an assistant, like I had all these written reviews in this binder, right? This binder, and a lot of them had written out like a short paragraph. So what we started doing is we immediately emailed their review to them, just typed it out real fast and said, hey, you left us this review before. Would you be willing to cut and paste it over to here? And it
was Zillow, right? We're really focusing on Zillow at this time. And the reason we focused on Zillow was because the 1-star review was on Zillow, right?
Absolutely.
So all right. So we're focusing on Zillow, and we're going to get Zillow reviews. That's exactly where we're asking them to go, right?
Yeah. So like our first mission, because I don't even know that Google had the reviews back then, or they weren't popular, or I didn't know about them. So our first mission was Google. And then I also had gotten reviews from this other system online. So we took all of those and cut and pasted. So we basically we just reached back out to our tribe, we call them, and said, hey, we know you left us this review before. We have this big goal to get 100 reviews by Toril's birthday. And would you be willing to cut and paste this over here? It'll just take a few seconds and you'll be entered to win. And at the time, I think we were giving away an iPad.
That's right.
And so you'll have a 1 out of 100 chance to win an iPad, and it'll take you 30 seconds. So we had a lot of people move them, right? Like, so we were able to accomplish that. And then some people don't respond on email. So we made sure that if we didn't hear back from them, I actually would text it. And I said, hey, I have this mission. Here's a review that you left before. Thank you so much. And then I would send it to them and be like, hey, will you cut and paste it? You can do it right from your phone.
And that's what makes you great as a realtor, makes you great in business and life. You're relentless. You're relentless. And I think that's one of the things that we need to harp on more with the Referrals podcast is that the top producers, the super producers, what they do is they chase things all the way to the end. You know, I talk about this open loops and closing loops. Like loops are just like things that need to be done. The top producers close loops. We're always looking to like complete it. It's not always finished, but it can be in a complete state. And it's like, we need to close this loop. So like with the person that didn't, respond from the email, it's like, we're going to text. And that's a more aggressive, more assertive approach. And then if they didn't maybe do that, then it's like a call to say, did you see my text and my email, right? And then from there, it's like anytime we know we're going to be in the same space, maybe it's just a little tap on the shoulder and say, hey, listen, I sent you a message and I texted you and I called you about something that's really important to me and I don't know if you could do it or not, right? And it's closing that loop. Like, go until it's done. Now, we can't force anybody to do anything, but if we follow up appropriately, they'll probably do what they said they were going to do, right?
Yeah. Well, and it was fun. Like, so we had we accomplished that mission, right? Like we were able to follow up, and then we asked for him on closing. We asked for him if a buyer or seller is like, hey, thank you for being a rock star. They didn't end up buying a house. Just anytime that you hear shout outs or praise or thank yous or any of that, it's real easy to say, hey, would you mind like putting that into a review? Because my mission is to be the most recommended broker in our area. And it really helps me get more business for others to know that I did a good job.
Yeah. Love that. And so when you sent the email, when you sent the text, you made it really easy for them to complete the task. You didn't just say, hey, listen, you wrote something, a year ago. Would you mind, writing me a review? You actually typed up exactly what they said. And then in that email, you said, copy and paste this. And then you literally had a link to where Zillow reviews are. Yep. Right. So they could easily click. And I think that's another thing that makes you special. And how do you get things done? Make it easy for people to do what you want them to do. And it was really easy. I'll give you another example. I endorse books, right? I don't endorse every author's book that comes to me, but when they send me over their book and they give me 3 or 4 sample endorsements that make sense for me to say, it's so easy to do that endorsement, right? Versus me having to read the book and then write an endorsement on my own, trying to figure out if it fits their goals and fits the book, right? And it's just like you made it really easy for them to complete the task. And you continue to do that to this day with what you're doing. So, all right, I want to go back to the 100. So you had the old ones, and then you had a few closings in those 60 days. And they were a big time focus for you. Did you reach your goal of 100? Did you get 100?
Yeah, I think we got like 150. Like we went way over.
Okay, great. And so we give away an iPad or two, and things are great there. I think first of all, for everybody that's listening to this, having a challenge for an iPad or a flat screen TV or a Yeti cooler or a Bose mini speaker, Bluetooth mini speaker, which are really nice Bluetooth speakers, something that has value that maybe people hadn't thought of buying for themselves yet, has a lot of juice. And when they do it, when they review, they probably would do it anyway, but the little extra incentive of they might win something is going to get them over the top. That's actually going to be enough to get them to take action, especially if they're 1 out of 100 or one
And
out of
if you tell them, it's a really good chance of winning.
Yeah. Super
We
high.
recently did it. You know how you send out your settlement statements or your final closing statement?
Yep.
So now we include, when we send those out, we send them by email. Some people do mail. We send them by email, and we include every year again, if you haven't already reviewed us, and now like they can leave reviews in a few different spots, they'll be entered to win again.
Love it. Love it. So the whole enter to win needs to be a part of people's recommendation process and getting the reviews. And before we even kind of go into this next stage of what do you do on a regular basis, which you've kind of touched on, but let's go deeper. You had the big giant contest to start, and that got the juices flowing. That got energy around the reviews and recommendations. Just for everybody, how many Zillow reviews do you have right now? Like, how many reviews on Zillow do you have?
I think we have like 444.
Yeah. So over 400 reviews, when the average agent in your area might have 20 or 40, and a really high amount, or like 1 or 2 might have 100, right? Mm-hmm. She's got 444. She is, by definition, on Zillow, the most recommended realtor in her area. Period. Bar none, not even close, right? So here's the thing I think.
And we haven't tried to get reviews there now since we focus on Google.
Right. Wait. I don't even want to tell that story yet. We're building this, and I'm talking to the person who's like, I have, and by the way, I have to give a shout out that this question, the reason we're doing this podcast today is because we got this question in our Generosity Generation group on how do I get recommendations? So it's like, I could just answer, Toril could just answer, but like, she's got a system, like there's a system for this. So why don't we just explain the whole thing? And then we can answer this question with like a nuclear bomb of awesomeness instead of just a little post, right? So that's a shout out to the Gen community for bringing this to the top. So I'm talking to that guy when I'm trying to ask the question for him to make it easy for him to implement this. So 444 recommendations on Zillow. And the big point I wanted to make there is this is documented, most recommended. You know, a lot of agents in a lot of areas go, we're number one. We're the number one agent. We're number one in Lake Tapps. We're number one at Sumner. And it's like, who the hell's not number one? Like everybody's number one, right? I've even heard it from cubicles next to me in offices where the guy's like, I'm the number one agent in the office. Well, that's actually true because nobody else is in the office, right? He's the only one that was in the office. So yeah, maybe he is number one in the office right now because nobody else is here and he's calling at 7:30 at night. But the thing about it is that's saying it. And what Toril's doing and her team is doing is showing it. Showing is always more powerful than telling. You can tell people that you're the most recommended, and then you can just freaking flat out just show them a 444 list. And it goes back to Howard Brenton, which is how I met Toril, by the way. Thank you, Howard. And when I was doing my interview for him to be Star Power Star of the Month, and I won't tell you what year because it instantly ages me, but he was like, I hear you got a lot of referrals and so on and so forth. I go, yeah, I got 519 last year. And he's like, wow, that's a wild number, right? And he's kind of used to the BS game, right? So he's like, well, how do you know it's 519? And I go, because I documented them. I have all my referrals. And he goes, well, when you come to Boulder, I want you to bring that documentation. And it's like, you know, I can imagine that Howard has been told things to try to become a star. And then he was like, I want and maybe it didn't work out, right? Maybe. But I brought stacks of these door prize entry forms and an Excel sheet. And he goes, damn, like that. And he actually mentioned me on that on that interview. That was when CDs were out and tapes were out. I mean, if that tells you anything about things. But he introduced me to the world as North America's most referred real estate agent, right? And there's one thing to say that you're referred, but then there's another is when you have documentation. So when you have these reviews online, Nobody can ever take that away from you. Like that should be part of your listing presentation. It should be part of your buyer's consultation. It should be part of what you say is that, you know what? It's not about what I say. It's about what my clients say. Go to Zillow and there's 444 other people who have already used my services who think we've done a pretty good job. Drop mic, move on, win the game, win the referral game, right? All right.
And we have it on our sign because we have over 2,000 5-star reviews, but we have on our sign 1,000 plus 5-star reviews. It's on our real estate sign. It's on all of our posts for social media, for our give back, and for everything. It says, most recommended 1,000 plus reviews. So we're just sharing, hey, we're the most recommended, but not like in a conceited way by any means, but just.
No, it would be a conceited way as if it wasn't like true. Right. I mean, you're saying it as the truth and you have the documentation to prove it. All right. So you focus on Zillow and then you start to realize the world's changing a little bit and Zillow maybe is losing some bang in the consumer world and some other places are starting to pick up reviews. What were the other two places that you get reviews?
Well, on my team Facebook page.
Facebook, and then
Google, because I'm sending people to Zillow's site. They're capturing all their information where I would rather just send them to my own page, if you will, on Facebook or my own, platform on Google and build it there.
Yeah. How many reviews do you have on Facebook and how many do you have on Google? You had mentioned over 2,000 5-star reviews, which is mind-boggling in a sense. But
yes, because we have Reach 180. Reach 150 is another place we have reviews at. That's what we started getting, and that's where we were cutting and pasting from. I have I think 370 on Google, and I know Facebook did some reconfiguration because I had over 250, but then they changed it. So I don't know if I still have that because they changed the way the reviews are,
the way the pages are done.
The way the pages are done. But that's one of my favorite stories is I was on this mission. We got up to over 300 reviews on Zillow, and then all of a sudden we had multiple offers on a house, and this buyer that I didn't know didn't get their offer picked.
Yeah.
Wrote a scathing review on Facebook for me. Yeah. And I just went, okay, challenge accepted. So I reached out to, we all have our top 50 or our top 100 and the people that we know, love and trust, and they love us. So I immediately just messaged them like, hey, I got this really bad review. I really want to ramp up my Facebook reviews. And I got I think 75 reviews within a week because I just messaged 75 of my friends.
Right. Right.
So it happened again and we did it again.
Yeah. So it's good to have friends. I think that's a really good point you make there is have 50 people who are willing to say something on a heartbeat or on a, in a second for you to defend you. And
people love that. They were like, oh my gosh, how dare they? And they're it's almost they did them faster than when I should have mentioned it before when I did my other goal. Not just that it was my birthday, but there was someone that left me a bad review because people like to get up on that horse and be like,
oh, totally defending you, right? They're even more angry than you are. Yeah. That's what I love, right? Is when they're like, wah, it's like, oh, you got to reel her in a little bit.
It's okay.
It's okay. I'm not under attack here. It's all good. Thank you for that though, and remind me to buy your next one. So. So when you now do it, so I want to talk about day to day. When before we were in the green room, we were just having a little conversation. You're like, no, this is a daily mission with me, even to this day. Mm-hmm. So talk to me about what you do to get reviews and recommendations consistently. So I think the contest is awesome. We've talked maybe 20 times on the podcast about the grand giveaway strategy that I love, where one of the ways for them to get an extra entry into the grand giveaway for a TV or a vacation or something is to review. So if you call me between these 2 hours, you get one entry. If you review it, we'll give you 2 entries, right? And then if you review on these 3 places, you get 5 more entries. And then if you refer us, you get 10 entries, right? 10 more entries. So you could get up to 16 entries into the grand giveaway contest by just reviewing, recommending, and referring others, right? And everybody can get in if they just call. So it's one of those where Like that's a great way to get them. And the contest is great, but you have taken this to where it's not this one-off contest that you do. This is part of your culture. This is part of your daily practice. So let's talk about, like, I am a client and I'm going through the transaction with you. Where am I being introduced and talked about reviews and recommendations?
We always do it on pending sale. And then if they don't review us on pending sale, like that's as soon as we come to an agreement, like whether it's on one of our listings or one of our sales, and we send out an email and we say, hey, congratulations on your sale. We actually donate or contribute a portion of our commission to a charity on their behalf. So in that email, it says, congratulations, we're going to be contributing this amount of money on your behalf. And by the way, would you take a few minutes to leave us a 5-star review on Google? Here's the link. Mm-hmm. And so we asked them immediately. And I learned this from a mastermind way back is, buyers are really excited and they want to do whatever they can do to get that house, right? So maybe if they're like, if we leave a review, maybe we're going to get that house.
Good karma.
Yeah, good karma, like, right? Or the seller's like, I want my house to sell. Mm-hmm. If I leave this review, but then I have had people that said, well, we want to see how the transaction goes, then we'll review you. And I'm like, fair enough. We're going to blow it out of the water for you. So, and then we ask them again, but we ask both parties. So if there's multiple sellers, if it's an estate and we're talking to 5 family members, we're asking them individually for 5 reviews rather than a group email. Like we kind of
and the couples and a married couple. You're asking both of them. That's brilliant.
Because you can, like, every email address can leave a review. I've had people that will do, because we're continuing to do the giveaways for the reviews like throughout the year, because we want to keep getting reviews. And I'll be like, do you have a different email address? A lot of people have 2 or 3 email addresses. You can enter to win with a different email. And so we're doing that always on pending sale and then at closing. And we're getting a good response on reviews there. We have a Yeti cup mission that we're always, with our give back, creating new Yeti cups, new branding. And right now we're doing the work hard, play harder cups. And people want Yeti cups. They're really cool. They're colorful. We have them vote on the colors. We have posts about like the new color, for the season. And I'm like, hey, if you want a Yeti cup, message me. I'll tell you how to get one. Mm-hmm. And I want my walking billboards everywhere. I want them taking them to the gym. I just had photos from Jamaica this morning. People brought their cups to Jamaica to their 40th wedding anniversary, and we're taking pictures by the pool with my Yeti cups. And I say, hey, gosh, quick favor, for a Yeti cup, will you leave me a review? Mm-hmm. And so we're doing that because I'm happy to have Yeti cups. It's a write-off because it's marketing, and they're like it's little walking billboards. Where'd you get that Yeti cup? Oh, it's Toril, my friend Toril. She sells houses. She's awesome. Do you want to get one? Like, just give her a review. And then we're also like, I review people. Like, I love to leave reviews. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm an ambassador for so many. So at least once a week, I'm reaching out to a vendor or a restaurant or someone that I can leave them a review. And then I say, hey, gosh, I'm going to leave you a review. Would you leave me a review back?
There you go. Yeah. I love the fact that you're doing reviews, because that's just a great model. And it's really hard for somebody to say, no, I'm not going to review after you give a wonderful 5-star review for them already. Right. And you can even be like with restaurants, you can even say, would you rather me give a Google review or a Yelp review or whatever it may be? And I'm telling you right now, as a consumer, reviews and recommendations are weapons in our arsenal. I mean, and I mean that in the best sense of the way. I will tell you that I went to when I go out of town, I will buy a day pass or a week pass at a really nice gym, right? And I saw one, and I worked out at the gym, and I was like, man, this place is great. And she had given me a 1 free day pass, didn't even have to pay for it. And then, but it was $20 for the week. And I go, your gym is fantastic. I looked on Google, and you had like a couple of 1-star and 2-star ratings. Like, that doesn't even make sense to me. And I go, you know what I'll do tonight? I'll go review that. and then I'll come back tomorrow and work out if that's all right. And she goes, if you do the review, you don't have to pay for the day pass or pay for the week pass. I'll just comp that. And I know it was only $20, and I was more than willing to pay $20 for a full service gym for 4 more days. But it was one of those where, like, it's a weapon. Like, it's something that, and it's a weapon for the other side, is that, hey, listen, I didn't have great service. I'm thinking about doing a 1-star review out online because of what you did. Make it right. Like, this is, here's the thing. 2 moments of pain right now fixing this. What's that worth compared to a 1-star review being out there forever online?
And we've had where people have gotten frustrated with us, or, real estate's tough. Like, there's emotions. It's death, it's divorce, it's death. Like, the 3 Ds, right, of real estate is what we deal with. And so we've had to personally reach out and be like, hey, I saw that you gave us a 2-star or 3-star review. What could we have done better? And what we want to make it right. So, and we've gotten them either to increase their review or remove them because we care. And us caring what someone has to say about a transaction, and maybe they didn't tell us then, but then they're going to write it out on paper or, write it out online. We're paying attention because we really care that we know what people think. And I know you'll find too, that some people will say, well, gosh, I don't know what to write. So I don't want to leave you one. And I'm like, hey, you know what? Like, is this how you remember the transaction? There was multiple offers. We won the bid. Your inspection went great. I'll be like, what if I wrote it out for you? Would you cut and paste it? And so I've written my own reviews, a lot of them, because.
Well, as long as it's truthful, right? It's like you're writing it. And of course, you're going to remember maybe the more positive moments than they might. But it is one of those where I think, what is it? Is it worth it? And we, at this point, the reviews and recommendations, it's a have to. We have to monitor it. We have to look at it. We need to react to it. We need to watch it because people are making buying and selling decisions based off reviews. I make all of my buying decisions on Amazon based on reviews and necessity, right? So it's like, I will check. I just literally, I was on Amazon yesterday and ended up not buying something I was going to buy after I looked at the reviews. There were some 1 stars and 2 stars about, problems. And so it's important. So if it's important, we need to follow up on it on a consistent basis. And you're the great example of that is you care. Like, when you do get it, you're checking the reviews every week. Goods are being rewarded and the bads are being followed up on to try to see if you can right the situation as it should be. That's what great customer service is all about. And
that's the thing is always respond to your reviews because then you've acknowledged them. Like, we have it set up like the second we get a review, I see it first. And then we respond, thank you so much for the review, because otherwise it's just kind of like you're ghosting everyone.
Right. What are the 3 Ds of real estate again?
Oh, death, divorce, and debt.
Oh, okay.
I know you love.
I know. I'm gonna be asked that. So, all right. So here's the other thing that I want everybody to embrace is that, and this is important. You want to ask for reviews and recommendations if you ever want them to refer you, right? What you're doing is it's the principle of commitment. And the principle of commitment is that it says that once a person takes the first step on the path, they're likely to take all the steps on the path. The hardest step to get them to take is the first step. If you can get them to take that first step, then they will finish the path of whatever it is. And so a review and recommendation is the first step to getting them to refer you. It's a great way to move them along that path. And I'll tell you this, if somebody won't review, endorse, or recommend you, they're never going to refer you. But if you can get them to review, endorse, or recommend you, then just know the next step for them is an introduction and or connection to someone they know or a professional they know. The next level is an easy introduction, easy connection. And then that next step is them to refer you, right? So just know that when you're doing the reviews and recommendations, you're easing them on the path of referring you. And they're more likely to refer you if they've reviewed and recommended you, right? So I think that we need to understand that this is part of a system. The review and the recommendation isn't the end all be all. It's them taking some steps towards like true ambassadorship, truly a champion. Is that, all right, the next step after the review is following up for an introduction or connection. Right. It's just like, the triangle of trust, which is, do you have a CPA? No, I don't. Well, I'm calling people who have CPAs. I'm finding 10s. Would you want me to introduce them to you if I found a good CPA? Right. And if they go, yes, I have a CPA, then it's like, on a scale of 1 to 10, where would you rate that CPA? And they go a 10. Okay, fantastic. Tell me about your CPA. Would you mind introducing me? The answer is yes. They do the warm-up introduction. We meet with the CPA, and then we take the CPAs we meet and we refer them, all the ones that either have a CPA they don't like or don't have a CPA. And so now we got this introduction connection strategy going on. That's just one of many. But once they introduce and connect you, they're referral machines. They're going to refer anybody they ever talk to that's involved in real estate or anything to do with what we do, buy and sell homes, right? So it's really powerful that you've got this system in place. And I mean, how many referrals did you get last year? Like 250, 200, some crazy high number, right?
You're 276.
Yeah, 276, right? And even more this year because you're doing the comedy events, you're doing some events that are driving even more referrals, right? So it's one of those where it's like this is just such an important step, but it's also it becomes so, like you said, you put it on your signs, you put it on your social media, you put it on your Facebook, you put it on your Google, and I've seen it in your email signature, most recommended, in your area. It's just a powerful tool to have it. And it's just about being constantly aware of it and having it as a focus and a goal, right?
And they're watching, if you're interviewing for the business, they're going to pull up to see what other people are saying about you versus who else they're interviewing. And if you blow them out of the water, they're going to be like, why wouldn't I use this person? I know I tend to buy the products or I go with the company that has the most reviews.
There you go.
They do. I do.
Well, we don't want to be wrong. Right.
Yeah.
We don't want to be wrong. We certainly don't want to be the first a lot of times, especially with a realtor, right? We don't want to be their first transaction because it's probably not going to go as well as it should, So they see 444. It's like there's a piece of the consumer's brain or the potential client's brain that just relaxes when they see 444 reviews. They're just like, okay, been there, done that. And then when you show up, they're like, oh, and she's so young. Right?
Fine wine.
So I love it. All right. So
what's cool too is, so agents look too, right? So we get lots of referrals from either our Google or our Zillow from agents that are like, hey, I have a client moving to Washington State and can you help them? I saw you had the most reviews. So it's also there for our industry too.
Well, and that's the thing that I see all the time now so one of the things that we've really gotten our clients to do a great job of in the first quarter is go out to all the Facebook groups that are in your location, all of them, even the buy, sell, garage sale, yard sale, the neighborhood group, find all the local groups, just join it. And then the other one is all the agent referral groups, just look for all and try to join as many of those as you can. And then what's interesting is even in Gen, we'll get somebody that's, looking for an agent in an area. Well, how do you know when the names come out, who to choose? How do you kind of look at the person who refers them? And then what's the next level? Well, I truly believe, and this is what I do, is if I don't personally know the person I'm referring, I'm going to go check Google and Zillow reviews to see how many because that's what other source do we have? And that's the best source we have. So, this just came up. This just literally came up to a referral in Alabama. It was I didn't see any reviews. And this person was part of a fan club where they had bought into a group. And when a referral comes up in a group, they go tell that group. And then everybody in that group is paid to support each other. So they come on and they're like, oh, this person's the greatest. And then you go over and it's like, I can't even see if they've done a transaction, right? And then another one who was only mentioned once had 36 Zillow reviews, and they were all good. And it was like, well, that's easy. I'm going to go with that person, with the 36 reviews. So you're right. And that's two-pointed. One, we should get reviews. Then number two is when we go to do an agent referral outside of our area, we should look at the reviews before we place that very important referral with someone. I mean, we just should, unless we know that.
And don't be overwhelmed about like getting reviews so fast, because I can see like if you're like, oh gosh, it's hard to get to 1,000 reviews or whatever you're thinking, like in your brain. Start with one a week. Like, hey, I want to get one referral or one review a week, which will probably lead to one referral a week also.
True.
And then you're going to get 52 a year, right? Like, and that's and then a couple of years you have, I think it's easy to ask people that already know, love, and trust you to help you out, and they will.
Yeah, they totally will. So I think, all right, final words of wisdom. Somebody's sitting there and they haven't been reviewed yet. They haven't even thought of this. They're just like, they've been in the business a couple of years. They might have 10 or 20 transactions, but like this is a whole new world. What words of advice would you give that person that's sitting there without any reviews? What would be their first next step?
Well, I would write down everyone that you know, love, and trust. Kind of, I call it your wedding list, if you will. Your top ambassadors, just like we do in the 7L, and reach out to them and be like, hey, I'm setting this big goal. I want to get 25 reviews by April 30th, and will you help me out on that? And I'm going to send you the link. And then guess what? You're going to be entered to win a gift card, or it doesn't have to be an iPad. You don't have to spend $1,000, right? Like it can be a dinner out at a local restaurant that you love. And would you be willing to review me? And they're going to say, yes, we will. You might have to text them a couple of times or call them. People are busy. So don't take offense if they don't respond, and make sure it's personal. Michael, will you get involved? I'm doing this mission where I want to get 25 reviews by April 30th. Would you help me out here? Versus if you send a mass text out, you're not going to get any. Right. If it sounds canned or not personal, you're not going to get any, because they don't want it. They want it to be, it's between me and you, Michael. Like, I'm asking you, I'm in it for, it's not, versus if they think it's for the masses, they don't want to be involved.
Now you just, I'm in wrap up mode, right? But it's like, you just brought up such a huge point is, bulk or mass is not going to work. Right. It's the 7 levels of communication at the top: phone calls, events, and one-to-ones. Right. So it's got to be personal. It's got to be personalized, customized. Ask. And the thing about it is people are like, oh, I'm just going to send it out to everyone. And the problem is nobody does it. Isn't that funny? If you want somebody to move, you've got to do it one-to-one. You've got to make it personalized. And please understand that doing it one by one may feel slower or more work, but the fact is it's going to work. It's going to work versus the other one isn't going to work. You're not going to get any versus, like she said, I think one per week. Everybody that's listening to this podcast should set a goal to get at least one review per week. And by the way, I'm going to start right now. Those of you that have read 7L, I would love for you to go to Amazon and write up a 5-star review on 7L. If you would do that for me. In fact, the first 3 people who do that, I will send you Brittany. I bought some more of Brittany Hodak's book, Creating Superfans. I love the book. I endorse it. I'm championing it. But I will send you shipping, right? I will spend money for you to give me a 5-star review on 7L on right after this broadcast. So this week I'll look, whoever has it, the first 3, I will send you Brittany Hodak's book, right? So I may be contacting you to get your address. But I think everybody, as your action item from this one thing, is that you are going to get one review either on Zillow, Facebook, Amazon, or Yelp. For some, I know we have restaurants that listen to this, or on Google. One per week for the rest of the year. That's your goal. And let's just set it right there. Because here's what also happens. When people see that 1 or 2 or 5 have reviewed it, They then understand that it's important to you to refer it or review it, so they will review it. If I will never be the first reviewer. I never will. But if I've seen 5 or 10 other reviews, it encourages me to post reviews as well, especially if one of them's low and I had a good experience. I want to counter that, right? So much good here, Toril. I mean, and what's amazing, we've talked to you about leverage, we've talked to you about events, we've talked to you about, so many different things. And thank you for being who you are and just being such a, you are the ambassador of implementation and so much more within the generosity generation. Thank you for being our guest here today on the Referrals podcast.
Absolutely. My pleasure. Anytime.
Love you. Appreciate you.
Love you.
Ladies and gentlemen, this has been another episode of Referrals Podcast. If you haven't done it yet, please join gengen.com. Join our referral network at joingengen.com. That's the generosity generation. Also, if you have not checked out Referral Mastery Academy yet, go to referralmasteryacademy.com. You get 3 event masteries, which is the $1,000 value for each class. You get time mastery. You get all these different things that we do. You get 3 challenges a year that are referral challenges, 30-day challenges. You get the referral library. You get 2 masterminds a month, all for less than $100 a month. Check out Referral Mastery Academy, RMA. Become an ambassador today. I appreciate you. We'll see you next time on Referrals Podcast.